Hello guys, my name is Lucas and welcome. I wanted to create a skill that would reduce the movement speed of my enemies. However, I realized that since we were using Eine, I couldn't make changes to the movement speed of the enemies in real time. Today we're going to fix that, so that we can make the skill next. Before we begin, I want to deeply thank all of my subscribers, especially those who support me on Patreon. I wouldn't be able to be making these videos without all of your support, so thank you so much. Now let's begin with the video. So we move the enemies by using the follow target script, which uses Eine in order to move the position of the object. We're going to comment that out, and we're going to use another approach, which is going to be using transform.translate function. We want to do this because apparently it's not easy to modify the speed of the game object that is moving once it already started moving. So we're going to use translate, a more traditional method, and of course if you are using a navigation mesh, which would be best, you could simply change the speed of your nav mesh agent. Or if you're using physics-based movement, you could change the speed, which is going to affect your rigid body.move position. But anyway, for my case, I'm going to be using the transform.translate function. Let's start by changing this variable name. Instead of follow time, I'm going to rename it to movement speed. Now there is two things we want to do. So first of all, we want to determine the direction in which our object needs to move. So vector 3 direction. And you could do this by simply doing target.position minus transform.position. That will give you the direction in which you have to move. However, in my game, I only move across the x-axis. So I'm going to use another method. First, I'm going to use a vector3.right, and I'm going to multiply this times the difference on the x position between the target and the transform. So target.position.x minus transform.position.x. So if the target.position.x is greater than the transform.position.x, this is going to be a positive vector. That means we're looking to the right. And if the transform.position.x is greater than this one, this is going to be a vector pointing to the left. And we want to normalize all of this so that we get a length 1 vector. Now that we have the direction, we need to use the translate function. So transform.translate, and we're going to move in the direction times the movement speed, and all this times time.delta time, so that we're frame independent. If you're not sure about what delta time means, you should definitely go check the video where I explain it. I will put a link on the description. And lastly, for my case, I need to make sure that I set the space to world space, otherwise wherever the enemy is looking at will affect my movement. Now let's go back to Unity, and if I remember correctly, our main camera also uses follow target in order to follow the player. So if we click on the main camera, you will see that the movement speed is now 0 because we changed the name of the variable. That's one of the problems of setting the variables on the inspector. So we need to set it back to something. I'm going to set it to 3 right now, and we can try the script we just made. Now you see the camera is going left and right, and that's because of the following. So imagine the camera is left from the target. It's going to move every frame until it gets close to the player, but at one point it's going to move and pass beyond the target. At that point, the new direction is going to be left, and it's going to go past beyond the target again. And then the direction is going to revert, and it's going to happen again and again and again. So to prevent that, we're going to make an if statement. So if, and what we want to check is if the distance between the target and the transform is less than what we're supposed to move. So for example, we're right here and we have to move all this. The distance between these two is smaller than that, so we're just going to snap the camera, in this case, to the x value of the player. So we're going to use vector3.distance between the target.position and the transform.position, and check if this is less or equals to the movement speed times the delta time, which is what we're supposed to move otherwise. And then otherwise, we're just move normally in the direction of the target. So now, if we're actually here, we need to snap to the player's position on the x-axis. So we're going to do transform dot position equals target dot position. But remember that our camera has an offset, so we need to also add that offset into the position, otherwise we're just going to go inside the player. So plus offset. Now we can try this one more time, and we still have this problem. So the reason why the problem is not gone is because we need to check for the distance between the target and transform, but we need to consider the offset that there might be. Otherwise, we're never going to be at a distance that is less than our movement speed. Now, finally, we can try this one more time. And there we go. The problem is gone, and the camera follows us, and we are a little bit faster than the camera, so we can actually escape from its frustrum, but it's working as we expected. And if we want the camera to move exactly at the same speed that the player, we can just increase the speed so that it's faster than the player's speed, and we're always going to be centered with the player. You could play with the movement speed with your scripts in order to do damping and other fun stuff. So now the last thing we have to do is test it with the mummy. So the mummy you see now is following us really fast. And that's because the enemy controller here has set the movement speed to be something really high. So what we want to do is just set the movement speed to the enemy movement speed. So we're going to remove this. And since we're setting the movement speed on the inspector for the mummies, we can change that. So mummy, and the movement speed is 2. So let's make a smaller value. I'm going to set it to 1 because I think 2 is still pretty fast for a mummy. So now let's try it one more time. And the mummy is slowly walking to us and attacking us as usual. So now that we have modified our follow target script, we can easily modify the movement speed of our enemies. So if I set the movement speed to 0, it's going to not be able to move. If I set the movement speed to 0.1, it's going to move really slowly. And if I set it to something like 3, it's going to be really fast. So now that we have fixed the movement of the enemies, we can do the aura skill that I wanted to do in this video actually, because that aura skill is going to reduce the movement speed of enemies nearby. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you like it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And of course, like and share it to your friends. I will see you all next time. Goodbye. Peace.